Yeah, I think it's just you're gonna go boots and you're gonna go tangos, and then because you're not gonna run out of mana before the courier comes out for the first time. So like when the mid brings out his salve or whatever, if you just do the thing where you buy the clarity and put it on the courier, and then you have the courier come to you after it's going to somebody else, I think it doesn't change much. No, you want to wait for somebody else to use it. Yeah, because what if it's gonna take like a minute to get to you and then back, and what if your mid gets ganked then, and then he just doesn't have a salve for a minute, meaning he either dies because he's playing aggressive, and he's tilted because he doesn't have his salve because you flew out a clarity. Um, um, but we'll see. I haven't played since the patch, so I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the game leap thing so that they can like lock my MMR at 250. And then I can start throwing all my games and playing like 4 games a day. Yeah, they don't really have anyone that zones you out hard. Uh, don't like the fairy fire. It's just kind of like meh. Um, yep. Um, it's kind of like usually when you want the fairy fire, it's like, or you could have just planned better. Um, I mean, that's fine. It's almost just as good. Because that one's gonna die early. And now your lane's gonna push towards you no matter what. Because you're missing a creep and they aren't. Taking trades here is good. You have a stout shield, he doesn't. Um, I wouldn't be using that. I'd just be right clicking him the whole time. Pull the creeps towards you, that's good. It's like meh, he's probably has clarities and shit, so it doesn't matter. I guess he's retarded, but usually with Earth Spirit you wanna have like it was actually common before where you just go boots and then spend all of the rest of your gold on clarities because you don't trade with this guy, you just run around and fissure shit in the early game. Um, that's good though when you're like you can be using this to push people away when they're going for a last hit, and it makes them miss it and it mana drains them and all that shit. Plus it tilts them, which is always okay. You've missed a lot of last hits. Um, and I just doing this for once a day. Like I recommend anyone that's getting coaching, they definitely value that getting better. So like if you value getting better enough to get coaching, you should value it enough to just do this once a day. And I just go in here with Shadow Fiend, and it takes 3 minutes. It makes you so much better. In like a week, you'll be like 30%. You'll hit 30% more last hits, or something like that. And I just have a sticky note on my desk, and I write down my last hit and denies. Like my first one, I had 14 last hits and 7 denies, and then my most recent one, I had 19 last hits and 12 denies. So I got a total of 10 more last hits in the course of 3 minutes with somebody with like 0 damage. And I'm a fucking position 4 player. Strictly position 4, and I still think it's worth it. Well, I mean, you're gonna last it at some point. Eh. It's kind of just like you. The more you play the game, the more you'll be able to foresee how things go. Um, like how do they kill you here? What is their kill condition in this lane? Did you know how hard it is for them to get that? Or you can just not be in a position that you get fissured blocked. And then if you do, you can just push your cogs, and then they have to deal with that for however many seconds before they can actually get to you. So it's like you have to have no mana, and they cogs you, and you have to be like half dead already. Like they don't have any damage aside from right clicks, and you're a hero that deters them from right clicking you. So their kill condition is like next to nothing in this lane. At the best, they might be able to harass you. Like this guy is Soul Ring, he might be able to like throw out. See, like this is just how the lane's gonna go, and you could foresee this before the lane happens, right? Yeah. This guy's Fissure, the damage per mana of this is like horrendously bad. Um, the first, like most nukes at level 1, most like nukes at level 1 do more damage than their mana cost. This one doesn't. And then the maxed one, most level 2 to 3 spells that are nukes are 50% more damage than mana. And this one, like, the maxed one is still, like, super fucking meh. Like, it's... The damage per mana with this maxed is not even that good. And it's a long-ass cooldown. And it pushes the wave and all that. So it's like, this guy's not gonna do shit to you in lane unless they have another support. Like, Ricky can show up and maybe do something. Well, yeah. Yeah. The thing with the last hitting that I was saying is you were under tower and you missed a lot of last hits. Like I think you missed like 2/3 of the last hits under your tower at like a minute and 30 in or whatever. So like, look, I called this shit. They fissure block you, but like so fucking what? You just press W and you're fine. Yeah, and even then, like even if Faceless Void like double bashes you, the Earth Spirit isn't gonna get on top of you before you can cogs. Because he's gonna have to. This is nice. Yeah. Attaboy. Um lol. Um I, I don't like that you're auto attacking this. Um when you get here, I would be trying to like deny attack it. Because if you did that, then the creep wave would have met like here when your mid lane gets back. But now, because you did that, you're leaving your tiny in a pushed lane against a Ricky. So, and that's literally just you right-clicking their creeps instead of your own. It might not end up doing anything, but still. But you saw him walking there on the minimap. Yeah. But here, you definitely knew that he was coming mid. You just checked the mini map, and like it's good that you went mid. Oh fuck, I was misclicking. No, what you did was fine. The only thing that you should have changed was denying your creeps, because here you see his face moving towards mid lane. So at this point, you know he's coming mid. Like where else is he gonna go? He's walking there, and this is fine. It's just don't attack his creeps, because when he gets back, he's gonna have to last it up here as a melee tiny, with 0. What the fuck? He has 8 armor. Yeah. It's not like you're denying it so somebody else can't get it or anything. But yeah, now he's like, how's this tiny feel? He has to go up, like, up here. It's not too bad, but it's like, he'd much rather be last hitting right here. And then, yeah, you don't really have kill potential on a Void. Unless he, like... Lol. Yeah. Probably Soul Ring. Yeah. The strength is nice, the health regen's nice, you have the tranquils. The damage in lane would be nice for last hitting. It's only 6, but 6 is a lot. Another little nice thing to do with Clockwerk is going into a demo with him and just putting down like a axe, giving him a few hearts, and then just messing around with your cogs. Like, if he's standing like right here and you cogs, it'll pull him like right here. But if he's standing like right there, it'll push him back. And just trying to get a feel for where that is very helpful, because I haven't fucked up my cogs in like probably 30 or 40 games, and I attribute that to practicing it. Yeah, and then another thing that you can do with that is it's really good to be able to land your hook shot and then follow up the stun from your hook shot with your cogs knocking them back, and that's like a lockdown for Storm Spirit and AM and Quap and shit like that. You hook shot them, and while they're stunned, you run away from them so that you cogs them. Yeah, and this is a 0.85 second knockback, so you can extend the duration of your lockdown at with your level 3 ult to 2.85 seconds. And it's like, there are certain heroes that, like with the Faceless Void, you can lock him down, but he's just going to time walk away, and it doesn't matter. So, like, you can cogs him in after you ult, but it doesn't matter. So, in those cases, you'd rather cogs him back into your team and drain his mana, and stun him for 0.85 seconds longer. So those are two things that you can go into the demo and practice, and it's very beneficial with this guy. Getting a feel for shit is pretty nice. And like here, it would have been, he dies anyways, but like what you should have been trying to do is wand here and then knock him back at the end of this stun duration, and that's basically it. Like, imagine this was the stun from your hook shot. You run right here and then you press cogs, and then he gets pushed back into your team. And that's the combo against mobile heroes. This is super obvious. You guys are doing some stupid shit that's only gonna work on retards, where your tiny isn't last hitting, and you guys just so happen to run off into the trees. Like, of course they're gonna you're trying to toss it on them. Toss you on them. Yeah, it's like, Yeah, I would have had the tiny last hitting creeps because that's what should be happening. Just because, yeah, because it's like you're not going to if something pops up or you can get a kill, go from it. But the only way that you're gonna get a kill there is if the enemies were retarded, and you missed last hits in the hopes that the enemy's retarded. Well, it wasn't bad that the tiny was there. It was that you guys gave up last hits and a creep wave. Oh, yeah. I mean, you get the deny, but you didn't have to hookshot for that. Again, it's like, this is the problem with position 3 Clockwerk, is you're trying to get kills when you can't always force that. Like what you should be doing now is focusing the Lycan, because you can shit on the Lycan. His ult means nothing to you. He does block a lot of your battery assault damage with all of his creeps, but your flare helps with that a little bit. But like Lycan's mobility is a lot better than Faceless Void's, but not against you. And then you're just slow here. Get the kill anyways, but... Well, that's, you kind of feel like you have to because you're playing position 3 and it's like, I'm supposed to be doing a position 3's worth of impact when you like can't really do that. This is good. You waited until his thing. You guys don't get the kill, but whatever. The thought that counts or something. Yeah, your hook shot's on cooldown. What are you gonna do? Like, what are your alternatives to doing this? Yeah, kind of. It's just uh, like you could be going on this Zeus here. If the Zeus like runs at you and makes a mistake, you can capitalize on it. But you don't want to be like trying to force something when you have your hook shot on cooldown. I don't know why your shaman didn't cast like any. Oh, he's disconnected. Yeah, if you were any good, you would have locked him down with the Shadow Shaman and you would have killed him. No, he was disconnected, so you had control of his hero. Yes, that was your fault. You could have used the Shadow Shaman and killed them. Yeah. It gets easier when more things become muscle memory. Um, it's easier to take on other responsibilities. Like in that Void fight, I wouldn't have like been really thinking about my hero at all because it's like not a very in-depth, or it's gonna sound condescending, but it's just an experience thing. Where in a 1v1, it's just kind of like I can predict what's gonna happen because it's just like two heroes. I have all of these abilities that I'm so used to, and then he's just gonna like right click me, and maybe he'll chrono, and maybe he'll time walk, and then he has a Mask of Madness, and that's all I have to play around. Because my hero is consistently Clockwerk, so I don't really think about my shit at all. And I just have to think how I play around a Chronosphere, a Time Walk, and a Mask of Madness. So for me, the fight is super fucking straightforward, and the only variable is him bashing me. So there, I would have been like, alright, well, the fight's gonna play itself out. I got this guy that I can fuck around with, though. But yeah, that's not really like a big deal. Here, if you ran here and threw out the cogs, Like, if you ran right here and threw the cogs, you would have got this kill. I don't like you going in there. Right here, there's no way that you stop him from taking this tower, so you're only putting yourself at risk of dying. Like, what if there was a Ricky there or some shit? Or if you got fissured. I don't know if the Earth Spirit was showing. If you got fissured, you would have just died there. And this is just another experience thing. When you have hookshot and you're looking for it, you want to be like running to the sides so that you don't get blocked. And that's also another practice thing that you can do. Well, going down the middle will never work. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like either one of them's fine because you have level 2 of this. The range is like you can be like right here and hit over here. So all you have to watch for in this position is hitting the shot when it reaches here. So, because this range is like long as hell. So yeah, if you can hit like right here from where you're standing. So if you're standing here or here, when he's right here, you hit the hook shot. So that's kind of like, I'd be running over here probably, because I don't know where these guys are going to default. And they look like they're more on the right side, so they're probably going to default more on the right. So I'd be running over here. And the fissure's like, I don't really want to be going on the Earth Spirit probably. So, but there you go. Should have thrown that flare mid. Should have thrown both of those mid. Ah, nice. $42 minute 60 seconds? What did you say? 42 what? 16? Oh, okay. I thought you said 60. I was like, that's not a thing. Yeah, I got it. So this game, the biggest things that you can do is stop Pudge's ult and maybe lock down the centaur some, because I think your battery assault stops his stomp because it has a long cast animation. No, his the centaur's stun. You're not gonna stop the disruptors. Hoof Stomp has a 0.5 second cast animation. And it has a 0.3 second backswing, so it doesn't stomp it, or it doesn't stop it, but it's still good to lock him down, I think. Well, it's kind of like the centaur, like, aside from his ult, he just wants to be on top of people. So another thing that you can do is try and hit him with his flares, because he's going to get a blink dagger, or he's going to be useless. So hit him with your flare, unless you have a good reason to scout with it instead, and throw an urn on him. Yeah. And you're starting with your cogs way too often. I start with them like 5% of my games. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah. Yeah. And it's another one of those where it's like, did I talk to you about Midas where it's like 5% of the, or 2% of the time it's like good to get Midas, and then like, um, well, it's kind it's the point that I was gonna make off of that is that the cogs being the correct play is a like 5% of the time, but it's very based off of being aware of the situations that cause it, and there's a ton of little factors that go into it. So it's not that it's right 5% of the time, or it is right 5% of the time, but it's because of a ton of small factors that lead into it being right. And even when it is right, it's like still a 50-50-ish. Like I'd say it's like 51% right and 49% wrong. Or it's 51% right to go cogs and then like 49% right to go battery assault. The same with Midas. Yeah, it's a lot better in most situations, and it's very hard to identify. Like I couldn't like just tell you when. The closest that I could say the main factors for going cogs is, do you have a Shadow Fiend that you can get him souls, and can you do anything at level 1 with battery assault? And if the answer's uh, no, you can't do anything with battery assault, it's still sometimes better to get battery assault than it is cogs. And if you do have a Shadow Fiend that you can get souls for, meaning your team is communicating, it's still sometimes better to get the battery assault. And then there's also games where you have the SF and you can't do anything early game, and it's still better to get the battery assault. It's just kind of like, when cogs is right, it's just slightly right. So um, I'd, I'd be very reluctant for you to get it. Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, I when I do it, it's not. I'm not thinking I want to burn their mana. Like I probably do that like 1% of my games. I'm like, I want cogs because of the mana drain, and that's probably it. Like it's this is actually a pretty decent game. It's decent against Juggernaut when you're laning against him, because if you don't drain his mana, your battery assault is useless. And you're just gonna cogs him in, and he's gonna spin on you, and you're gonna lose the trade. So, yeah. And that's kind of like, that's one of the only heroes in the early game that I would do that. And then against, like, if I have to lane against an AM or some shit. It's basically, if Faceless also would have been a decent one, actually. It's like, if they have mana, am I useless? And the answer for those 3 heroes is yes. So, AM will just blink out if he has mana. It's like 60. 50 or 60. Like 200 or 300. But it's also, if you're laning against him, like, and you have to lane against him, if you're not cogsing him, he's just gonna drain your mana anyways. So it's either you can drain his mana and hurt him, or he can drain your mana and hurt you. But it can't be both. Yeah, it's like you're gonna lose it no matter what. So might as well make him lose his mana and take damage instead of you just taking extra damage. Yeah, it was 7 minutes. I'm gonna restart it because I was focusing more on what we were talking about than... Oh, you didn't roam? That's probably why I wasn't. So this game, you're gonna have a hard time roaming mid because Invoker isn't the greatest help and Viper is pretty hard, but it is definitely doable. Like if your Invoker just died, comes back with full health, and the Viper is like out of mana and at like 60% health on, like with this equilibrium, you can definitely kill him. Especially... Gotcha. And then bottom, you can kind of do stuff, yeah. Because both of them are, they have to be on top of you to do anything, aside from, like, Pudge's hook. But you're probably the best hero, aside from, like, an Ursa or some shit like that, to be on top of people. Like, a Pudge doesn't want to be on a Clockwerk, but a Pudge wants to be on heroes to do his stuff. The same with Centaur. They don't do anything when they're not on top of you. But you're so strong with your battery assault and your cogs, making it so that when they do go on you, they're going to be staying on you for a while. And then if they try and run away, they're going to have to break the cogs and then get hit by the cogs while running out of it. So you're a really good hero for early fights with heroes that have to be on other heroes. 20 minutes. Yeah, it's fine. So Omni Knight's kind of like hard to deal with, and he's kind of like, against him, you favor a lot more the combo that I talked about where you hookshot and then cogs out, because you can do that instantly, whereas with hooking and then battery assaulting on somebody, this guy can stop that. And it's better to have hookshot into cogs for the 3 seconds than it is to hookshot and then battery assault for 3 seconds. Does that make sense? Because this guy will just come in and repel, so your thing's only going to last a few seconds anyways. And if you, let me do this real quick. I'll show you the 2 little things real quick while I'm at it. It shouldn't take more than a minute or 2. So you want to make an enemy axe, give him like a bunch of hearts, and then you just like do some shit like this where you just like figure out what pulls him in and what pushes him out, and then you can you can practice like trying to pull them into your tower and shit. Like this. And then that'll give you a good sense of like what the range is on your pull in versus your push out. And then you can try and like get the perfect pixel. Like this is like halfway through. This will probably knock him back. Whereas like this will probably I think this pulls him in, could be wrong, yeah. So you just kind of like feel for that and then see what it's like pulling them and pushing them and all that. And then with the combo, let this clear off real quick. It can be, but it's like, that's an afterthought for me usually. And it's more of like, nice. Like, in the early game, it's kind of like, eh. The mana drain's meh, and then in the later game, like, 80 mana's like meh, 200 mana's decent, but in the later game, 200 mana's meh. What you mean? Yeah. The level 1... Yeah. The level 1 is hard to do, but you can do it if they don't have, like, an instant blink. But with the other levels, it's a lot easier. I don't have any boots right now, so it's a little bit difficult, but... and I have, like, max level with that. So you just do this. You can at level 1, it's just... This guy can't have like an instant disable or something, or instant blink, and he can't instantly react. Like if he doesn't react instantly, it works. Yeah. And then the thing with the Omni Knight that I was trying to point out is, let's say there's an Omni Knight right here, and you're worried about this guy. This is an Omni Knight. He's gonna repel this guy. But if you do this shit, then like how's the Omni Knight gonna repel this guy? He to run through all of these cogs, which means he might have a blink dagger and he might blink over, but then they're both kind of like in bad positions. And the thing with Force Staff is it allows you to do that shit and then like be fine and just like get out for free. But yeah, practice that, and then practice like when you can actually hit your hook shot, like trying to hit this guy. What angle would I be? Yeah, you can see which ones, because I think this has a little bit bigger deviation than hook shot, or pudge hook. I think it's like 25 more. I think pudge hook is 100 radius, and this is 125 radius. So it's a little bit, and then there's also some Goonia shit where I think the stun radius is 150. So anything that's 150 on the path gets stunned, but the hook is 125, so if I do this right, it stuns this guy, but it doesn't hook him. Yeah, so he has to be between 125 and 150 of the hook shot. I don't fucking do that. That is not something that... Yeah. I wouldn't worry about that at all. That's just like a... It doesn't hurt to know mechanic. But yeah, go in and it'll only take you like a minute or two to like feel out your cogs, because you can be doing it like one cog every like 2 seconds or whatever, whereas in a real game you're gonna like maybe have like 3 or 4 cogs that are like far enough away that it's like yeah, you can probably in 1 minute you can do like 100 games worth of cogs training. So the things to know for this are none of them have escapes from your cogs. None of them really build Force Staff. Like, these guys want blinks, but they don't want Force Staffs. This guy might get a Force Staff. This guy's your biggest concern when it comes to your combo. This guy gets shit on it. This guy gets shit on. This guy gets shit on. This guy can like kill you. If you go on him at certain periods of the game. But yeah, aside from that, like these two guys are really easy kills. This guy, if you have a dust, he should be a really easy kill too. This guy, if you have a teammate, he can die-ish. This guy, you're gonna have a hard time, and you're gonna want to do the pushback combo on him because he's just gonna repel. And then also pudge hooking out of your cogs is another thing. Have you had it? Oh, you guys have a line mid, nice. But have you ran into mana problems at this point in the game? Yeah, that's why you just throw it on it. And then, like, if nobody's used it by the time that you need mana, just, like, look at this guy and see, like, does he have a... does he have something queued up that he's close to? And if not, then maybe take the courier. And, like, check this guy if he's, like... If the Luna's low, then maybe... Yeah. This is, I don't... Yeah, it's like, he's under his tower by the time you have battery assault, so it's just... And the creep boy's pushing into his tower. Feels bad, this guy's like 2k and he has a bone hook. Or whatever it's called. And you can't really do anything against this guy without dust. He like let you get him low as fuck, but it's his fault, not yours. It helps that you got him low, but he shouldn't have let you get him low. Like, your mistake is not being punished because of his mistake. So this game, I'd be... Your mistake was killing the Tiny, which was obvious, but it's kind of like... and then you have a mid-lion, which makes things really weird. But I would be going between bottom and mid for the start of the game. Like, the Omni Knight's here now, let's go mid. Until you have... Like, you don't want to go, like, boots dust, really. But you might be fine with going, like, boots, raindrop, clarity, dust. And then when you feel like you have enough that you can afford getting a dust, then maybe add top into the lanes that you want to go to. Does that make sense? You don't want to, like, drop your first, like, 200 gold just to get a... See, going on this guy, you can just die. You don't want to drop your first 200 gold just to be able to, like, have a chance to gank somebody. And it took you a while to TP here, and then you run into creep vision. You, like you... Have better game sense. This is the other option is doing what this guy's doing, where you go this way, which I guess like the same shit could happen. Go this way. No. He has vision. You would have been fine there, or you would have been fine this way, just barely. If you went this way, or if you went this way. Yeah. So you just kind of like showed up and was like, hey guys, I'm here. And then took a fight after that. Yeah. Part of that is just, you need this. You want to, against a Pudge, you want your battery assault to lower him and then get the last hit with your auto attack. This was good. At least the cogs was good. Your map awareness, or your screen positioning is horrendous though. Like, for all you know, your Luna could be full health and like using her ult, or she could be dead right now. But you don't have any knowledge of that until you're on top of them. And then here, you would want to be, when you do come in here, you want to be running like here. Which is what I think it is what you do, but you do it late, which means you die. Like, I would deny this and then stay on this side, so my battery assault stays on the tiny, but these... The matchup, well, the first part of it was you let the tiny kill you, which, like, you know is a mistake, so I didn't really talk about it too much. But because you let him kill you when you shouldn't have died there, he came back, and now he's level 5 when he should be, like, level 3. And this isn't really, like, a matchup, it's kind of like, this guy was mid, right? Which is weird. Yeah. Yeah. Part of it is understanding that the Tiny is a solo offlaner, and then, like, for the first few minutes of the game, he is completely alone, right? Yeah, so, well, the point that I'm trying to make with that is, when you have a solo offlaner, and then it becomes 3 people there, it's a lot stronger than if there's 3 people there the whole time. Does that make sense? Because they have, like, experience and level and all of this shit. The Tiny will be higher level in a solo lane, helped by a few people later than if it was a tri lane the whole time. So, you have to consider them as not a tri lane, but like a beefed up, like they won the tri lane, even if they like didn't necessarily win the tri lane. So you have to play it a little bit differently, and then the Earthshaker being a mid is just kind of like a far left example of it, or far right, or whatever the direction. Example of it looked. Your thought process there was they're a tri lane. The Pudge, the Earth Spirit, or the Earthshaker, and the Tiny are a tri lane. But in actuality, it was a solo offlaner, a roamer, and a mid laner, and it's not a tri lane. That's like their 3 of their 4 strongest heroes. Instead of it being like their 3 weakest heroes. So with that in mind, you have to play it differently, and that's kind of like, alright, well, they're committing all of this extra shit. You just play safe, Luna, and we're gonna go top, and we're gonna make them rotate away from you. Or we're gonna kill their Quinks. Or some shit like that. Um, but yeah, the game's kind of like your roaming potential, kind of like your options as a roamer diminished greatly the second that you died to the tiny. Because before that, you could solo zone him. After that, you have to like kind of deal with him, or he's going to be a nuisance, and you can't solo zone him. So it's kind of like you're in a really weird spot, and then you like want to be going top, but you don't have the early gold to get a dust that you want to go top, and then your mid's a fucking lion against an Earth Spirit, which is kind of like weird. But for your mid gank, you have to have the right setup for it. So it's like how this game would play out if I was the Clockwerk would be the Tiny's completely zoned out. The thing that you watch for is his creep wave. You look at your creep wave and see where they are, so you don't get tossed under his tower. And that's the way that you lose the lane, unless you like actually just run under the tower, which is what happened. And then you want to be doing that and shutting this guy down completely, because he's like the Tiny's basically an Omni Knight that's a worse offlaner, and you understand how an Omni Knight can just get completely zoned, right? He has no escapes, like he has a repel or whatever, but when this is on cooldown, he doesn't have, like, there's nothing about him that makes him a good offlaner. He has no escapes aside from repel. Like, his heal's decent, but what of it? He doesn't have like a Pangolier swashbuckle. He doesn't have a Magnus push. He doesn't have like Elsie's like great nuke from a long range. He doesn't have Brewmaster's slows and all of that. He just kind of like doesn't have anything that makes him a good offlaner. He doesn't have anything that makes it so you can't just zone him at level 1 is what I'm trying to say. Like if he has purification, it's like, alright, what else? Like this doesn't do much at level 1. And you still win the trade at level 1 as a Clockwerk. So if the creep wave's like right here, and you just like battery assault him right here, he has to run back to his tower. And then you successfully zoned him, and your Luna's going to get level 2 and he's going to be level 1. If you do it one more time, your Luna's going to be like 2.5 while this guy's still level 1. And then your Luna's going to be level 3 when he's hitting level 2, and then you basically just won the lane. And then you also have the Shadow Shaman there, doing whatever the fuck he wants to be doing. And then Tiny's the same thing, except for the only thing that he has is he can toss you under his tower and stun you. But that uses like all of his mana pool. So how do you lose the lane against this guy? Yeah, it's essentially he's going to use the tower and a stun in whatever way he can, which is you're either going to run under the tower and get stunned, or he's going to toss you under the tower and you're going to get stunned. But he has nothing that makes him an offlaner, and at level 1, or until level 6, he has 0 armor also. So this guy is completely... He's like a Timber Saw that doesn't have reactive armor or Timber Chain. Does that make sense? So zoning this guy should be easy as fuck. And this guy should be food until, like... He should basically be food. The Tiny should be like level 5 and your Luna should be level 8. But it's swapped here because of how you played it. I guess let's go to the start of the game, and then I'll try and go through like what I would be doing. So when you see these guys going aggressive, then you usually want to counter their aggression by doing your own shit. So if you were like standing here or something, you could have possibly taken the bounty rune. Then here, blocking this is, you should be blocking that. And then probably go around, I'd be going around here. And trying to wrap around with the Shadow Shaman to get the first kill on this guy. Because like right now he has 800 health, he has 0 armor when he gets past this tower. So he's like pretty fucking squishy if you can lock him down. So if you can wrap around here with you and the Shadow Shaman, he has to stay back under the tower. Your Luna will get free farm. And if you're not blocking your own creeps and you're intending to stay bottom, you should probably look at their range creep. Because if this guy, the only way that you can't kill this guy is if he lets his range creep go first, because that means that the creep's gonna end up under his tower, and then you can't do anything under his tower. So you should be trying to catch this range creep, and that's basically... Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Because you guys are bad supports. Is, like, honestly the question, or the... Yeah. Well, it's not... Like, you guys should have been able to do it. I would have been able to solo zone this Tiny as a Clockwerk. It's just kind of like you're not doing it right. Is the short answer. Yeah. I would either go around this way, or I would go around this way, and I'd pop my battery salt when it goes up to the creep wave. Depending on... It depends on how it's, like, being played out. Like, I guess I'll just watch right here, and then I'll see what... Yeah. Like, you should be either here or here, and then right now, wrap around and battery assault him right here. And then you're gonna get a ton of damage on him. He's not gonna do shit. With your Shadow Shaman here, like, if you're right here, this guy is dead right now. Do you agree with that? Because you battery assault him, which slows him down enough for this guy to get his shackles, and then he either dies or he barely lives, and he's low as shit, and you probably got like 2 tangos and a salve out of him, which means that the next one's going to be a kill. But you're back here getting this clarity, meaning that you're giving up your level 1 potential and giving this guy... Would you agree that the hardest part of being an offlaner is the first few waves? So what you're doing right now is allowing him to have an easier time in the hardest part of his lane. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like you're missing... You're probably, aside from like level 3, you're about as strong as... You're relatively really fucking strong right now. Like, you're probably the strongest hero on the map in this second with your battery assault. And you're using this time to pick up a clarity. And then this guy gets half of a level before you even show your face, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you could have been zoning him so he's not even any experience into level 2. And then when he has his level 2 and his level 3, he has access to the spells that like actually can cause problems. It depends. I'd be looking at mid, more, but I would probably still, like, a lot of it depends on your Shadow Shaman being, like, cooperative, but you guys should still win that. And you can, like, run at them still. If you guys play it correctly, you guys win that for sure. And they're getting half experience, and your Doom is getting, a lot easier experience up top. But the main thing with this lane is you weren't there at the start to zone this guy out, because you were getting your clarity, and then you die here, and that loses you guys the lane. I'd say probably bottom like 70%, mid like 25%, and then top like 5%. Um, it has a lot to do with... Yeah, that's part of it. If I think the kill is The for the I'm saying for the that's for the where I'm gonna start the game, or that's like for the first 2 minutes of the game. That's probably my layout. And if I had to say what typically happens in the beginning of my games, it's I look at bottom, I look at mid. If mid is pushed out, then I might do something there. And if bottom is completely zonable, because I'm a Clockwerk, then I'll probably zone. It depends a lot on matchups. Like, if it's a Shadow Fiend mid on my team or their team, I'm going to be a lot more likely to start there because if a Shadow Fiend doesn't have a good first few minutes, he's going to have a hard rest of the game. Like, shutting him down for the first, like, minute or two can, like, make him, like, 5% less useful for the entire rest of the game. Not really. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Her range is too long. Yeah. I don't think anyone else is really. Yeah. I'd say Shadow Fiend's like the main. I would be worried about him getting invis early. Like it's kind of like a quap where if they just have one of their skills, you just wasted your first minute. And your first minute, you could have been. It's kind of like, your first minute, you can win the you can win the safe lane in the first minute of the game. Would you agree with that? Like if you completely zone out. Well, I mean, yeah. Like if you completely zone this guy out, and then he's level 1, your Shadow Shaman's level 2, your Luna's level 2. Like they're both level like 2.5 or whatever at like 2 minutes. You get a level also. You're level 2. This guy's level 1 under his tower with no last hits. You can leave, and then this lane, the chances of your Luna ever getting like denied any last hits is very fucking slim, just because you zone this guy out at the first minute. So if you think about the contribution that you do with the first minute there, and then you think about if there's a Clinks mid and he went invis, I gave up winning my safe lane to have a chance to go gank this guy. Oh, I mean, that I don't really care much. Eh, no. The only time that I TP mid is if he's getting like ganked under the tower and I can get us like kills and shit. Um, it's usually like by the time that you get mid after seeing that they have a position for mid, they're gonna be gone. And then it's like if you go there, you might make him useless, but you're also making yourself useless. Here, we can break it down. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You want to. Yeah. It's it's kind of like if you go there. Okay, let's break it down into one sec. Um, there's a few different things that can happen. You're probably not getting a kill, so you're probably not going to benefit from it, like actually get ahead from anything. You're just gonna like start cutting your losses. Does that make sense? Like, so it's kind of like no matter what you do, you're not going to be getting ahead by going mid. Maybe you go there and you make you and the Spirit Breaker both just like kind of sit there and sap experience. But he already zoned your mid out for like 2 last hits, so they're ahead there. Um, you're not gonna kill the guy. You have to use a TP and 70 mana, and like if you walk there, he might have already left by the time you get there. And then if you don't have any gank potential on their mid due to the hero, your hero, the equilibrium, then you're just kind of like sitting there with your dick in your hand, like, what do I do now? Does that all make sense? Well, you shouldn't, yeah. If he's flaming, that's like, hey, come help out or whatever. It's kind of like, or you could just shut down an entire hero on the enemy team instead of like kind of helping your mid. Like if what I would do in that situation is win the safe lane hard enough in the first few minutes that they keep winning the lane without you. And then you can go other places and do other shit. Because if you can spend a minute, you can spend your first minute, 2, 3, your safe lane, win that lane for the rest of the early game, and then go somewhere. Or you can go mid and like maybe do something. I think it's almost everyone. It just like it depends on what your kit is. Like Clockwerk can zone out most of the enemies, but like if you're I guess if you're like a Jakiro against like an LC and you have like a support dazzle or some shit, you're gonna have a hard time like zoning out an LC because she's just gonna like nuke and heal off your shit. So it's kind of like that's a harder situation, but does that make sense? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's gonna purge off your spells, so it's like usually you can do something as a position 4 in the early game, in the safe lane to win you the safe lane for the rest of the game. Sometimes you can't, but like usually you can. The it was 5% that you go to the enemy safe lane. That's and that's just kind of like yeah. I mean that's their problem. Um, I mean that's the same thing that happened with you. But like that Tiny picked a weak ass offlaner, and you guys just let him, and you actually like fed him with a hero that shouldn't even be able to show up in lane, and that's why you lost the game. Or if you, that's why you lost the early game. I don't remember if you lost the game, but yeah, yeah. Um, it, um,